You're listening to an old episode of Metal Gear Mondays. To keep up with all of the new episodes, please check out patreon.com/Metal Gear Mondays.
This week on Metal Gear Mondays.
I feel like I'm going through postpartum depression right now.
Ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, welcome to another episode of Metal Gear Mondays, the podcast where we go through all of the Metal Gear Solid games from top to bottom, left to right, up and down, inside and out in chronological order, or roughly that. As always, I'm your host, Alessio Summerfield, and this week I'm joined by Samuel Wright.
Just because we're magic doesn't mean we're not real.
Isaac Lim.
Papa.
Hey, Isaac, are you
I'm
there?
Isaac.
Oh, Papa.
And,
So I didn't
yeah.
I didn't realize I was muted the whole time.
And we're joined by a very, very special guest, Cameron Hill, who is joining us once again since last episode and the first season. Cameron.
Hey, I've got to go to the bathroom. Be right back.
Don't forget to wash your hands.
All employees must wash their hands before returning to work.
I really do have to go to the bathroom, but I'll wait.
So this week we have some fun shenanigans. But before we get to that, Sam, do you want to jump us into our favorite segment of the show?
Yeah, our favorite segment, a segment we like to call Fumbling in the Dark with Isaac Lim.
Doopda. Da boopda.
Cue that.
Doopda.
Cue that Who Wants to Be a Millionaire music.
Doopda. Boopa doopda. Baba doopa doo boop boop. Boopa doo. Doop doopa doo.
You sound like a Todd Terje track. Come on, Isaac.
Doop doop boopa doo.
Quit distracting. Quit distracting.
Last week on Metal Gear Mondays, we traveled through the forest and we had a fire and we ate some snacks and we fought and that's all I got. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Guys, can we give it to him? That feels very vague to me. I don't want to give it to him.
Okay.
I can't fucking breathe.
I can't give you what you want. You know that.
So my vote is no. Cameron, what do you vote?
No.
I'm not really quite sure what just happened because off mic, Isaac seemed to know what we did, and then he heard a recap of what we did.
Yeah. I guess for continuity, we started recording the podcast, and then something was wrong with my audio, and I gave it to Isaac the first time, but I'm going to have to say no to the second time.
Oh, Cameron, you're killing me.
You've been demoted, Isaac.
Oh my gosh.
So Sam, could you please illuminate the night?
Yeah. Illuminate the night with Sam Wright. We're going to talk about some stuff that's going to happen. We're about to finish Metal Gear Solid 3 this episode. Perhaps not victoriously, but we shall finish
With a tear in our
what we
eye.
started. With a tear in our eye.
Unless you're a monster.
Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna take part in a very shitty escort mission, and then we're gonna face off with Destiny.
The game
girl?
from Bungie.
Yes, Destiny the game.
Yeah. So anyway, I have a couple notes real quick. Again, we are retreading lost ground. Past notes, past episode, MGM 38. So fun tip, Volgin can punch you so fucking hard you throw up. That was wonderful. You can non-lethal the final Volgin phase when he's on top of the Shagohod, with the Masa Nagant, but I don't think you get any reward for it. It might be a time for you to potentially get the Cold War camo again. I think maybe.
Like if you missed it the first battle.
Yeah, it might be. It might be if you missed it. And also, I just want to reiterate how fucking cool the motorbike section is, and Snake and Eva's relationship, and the awkward convo that happens post crash. Also, paramedic Stone Cold. So. Let's
great.
Woo! Zippity doo dah, zippity day. Zaozorji West is where we're going. And we are in a fatal car accident. Cameron, what caused this fatal accident? I feel like you're a man with passions.
Not fatal.
Oh, excuse me, not fatal. But Cameron, you spoke passionately about road safety the last time that we spoke about this. Could you?
Yeah. So what caused
lay it
this
on me,
issue?
brother?
What caused this issue was essentially Eva was flipping through her iPod and she was looking for the next best song. She was really in the
Hottest track.
zone, but she really needed
Jam
a
of the
hotter
summer.
track. Well, it wasn't the hottest. She needed a hotter track.
Yeah.
And
Crank up the
you know,
heat,
she's like,
bring the
look,
beat."
I can't be driving right now listening to this chilled out Tool song that's 11 minutes long. I really need to be listening to a club banger to get me in the mood for this car chase or motorcycle chase. So, hey Snake, give me just a minute. I'm gonna risk your life so that I can find this song. I have little regard to your well-being and my own, which shows how much value I place on my life and the life around me. And
She needed some Daruth Sandstorm.
that's exactly what she was looking
It's
for.
worth it, dude. It's worth it.
Yeah,
know,
so
the
she
terrible
puts
thing
on
is-
Darude Sandstorm, but just a little too late. As she looks up from her iPod, she sees a branch in the ground, a rather large log.
From her
And,
clearly mid 2000s iPod.
yeah.
From her Zune.
Isaac, did you have something you want to stick in there, buddy?
I'll stick whatever you want me to in there.
Oh, gross.
Holy shit! I didn't know I could do that. All right. All right. Well, let's.
No, I
This
was
is uncomfortable.
No, I really did. All right. I was just gonna say Snake didn't have the decent courtesy to look at the road while Eva was flipping through her iPod.
Yeah, that's right. It's the victim's fault, Isaac.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right about that.
Look, in very similar situations, I understand where
Don't
he's
you know the
coming
rules?
from.
When
He
you're
was
on a,
checking out
when you're on a
Eva.
road trip,
Okay. He was checking
Yeah,
her
to
out.
be
And that's
real,
fine
he was
because
getting
it's
an
not his
eyeful of booze.
responsibility to be checking the road. Okay, he is free to be gazing upon whatever catches his eye because he's not behind the wheel. Okay.
don't you guys know the rules? The rules of road trips: driver focuses on the road and avoids killing everybody. Passenger is the navigator and also the temporary DJ.
Is that how it
but
works?
that's road trips. What about day trips across town?
Well, that's fine then.
Oh, okay, cool.
Whoever you want at risk.
Cool. Gotcha. So the state law should be risk your friend's life unless it's a road trip. So,
Agreed.
but yeah. So now that we're past that, effectively, what ends up happening is Snake and Eva hit a little snag in the road. They go tumbling down. They all black out. Snake wakes up. He's relatively shaken up, and his lovely friend Eva is literally fucking impaled by a tree. And doesn't really seem like it's that big of a deal. Snake talks her out of it. Physically.
Well, I think she wanted to die. She was like, "Just leave me here to die."
And Snake effectively is
Yeah.
just like, no. And she's
I need
like,
you. He says,
"All right."
"I need you."
Oh
need
yeah,
you
that
later.
was the awkward part. He was like, "I need you," and she's like, "Oh,
She's
you
like,
do?"
"Okay."
And he's like, "To fly the jet, dummy."
I was gonna say, who the fuck else is gonna fly the riding with?
Yeah,
And then she's like, "Oh, Snake, you're so right. I was being such a dumb idiot. Why else
How
would I
dare
think
I?"
you would need me?"
how dare I put my life on the limb here, literally.
Oh
But
my
she,
goodness.
Dun, dun.
Dawn.
She
That was
she
good.
full
B minus.
She full yeah, thanks man. She full Devil May Cry Dante pulls herself off a goddamn tree trunk. And with all of her organs pierced, she's standing there, but Snake's got to take a call, guys. And so Snake listens to Paramedic essentially say, hey, patch yourself up, but don't use too much on that dumb bitch. You should keep it all for yourself. So yeah. And then on top of that, I'm not sure if this was in the original release or not, but I was pleasantly surprised when I went to the cure menu. In the original release and in this release, when you're in the cure menu, you can see somebody's skeletal 3D X-ray model. And with Eva, even in the original release with Eva, you could see the curvature of her womanly figure. However, I feel like, and I'm definitely down for a listener to take me to task on this, I feel like in the original release, you could see that Eva had a bathing suit top on. In the HD re-release, I'm not even fucking kidding, there are definitely fully articulated and exposed nipples on Eva's model in the cure menu. Like you can see it all. You can see everything. Like it's ridiculous. Also, I don't know if you guys knew this, but in the cure menu, there's an info button if you press R1, I believe, and it pulls up like a little medical history list. And if you look at the medical history for Eva, you can see that on the list of medical things that have happened to her, she has received a broken nail. And she received a breast enhancement. Which I
That lying bitch.
I expected to see like HPV or something similar to show up.
But
Syphilis.
you can also pull up her dietary history. And there's a lot of really fancy food and like cocktails listed for Eva, like fine dining, which I think is hilarious. And she has some different.
And that's.
Oh, go ahead.
And that's the first clue in the entire game at all, totally ever, that something's amiss with her.
Yes. And she also, you can feed her if you're in close proximity because her stamina is going to deplete way quicker than Snake's because essentially we're starting an escort mission and you're going to have to maintain her as well as yourself. And if you have to be close to her to feed her, but when you feed her, she has some fun food reactions that are a little different but mostly similar to Snake's. And effectively the way that it works is it's just like the regular game, except you can press triangle and Snake will like motion for her to follow. And our entire mission is to escort Eva to the wig, which is waiting for us at the lake. And so, yeah. So before we kind of go through this, I figured we could kind of round robin it and talk a little bit about everybody's different experiences with it. If you had the similar experience to everybody else, no big deal. But let's just kind of talk about our first blush reactions with this. And I want to kick it to Cameron, since he's our guest, to take it first. Cameron, between the crash site and getting Eva to the lake, tell us about your experience. What was that like?
All right, so I'm gonna step back for just a second. When you're basically being explained that you're going to be going on this escort mission, aiding her, you are told if you will crouch, so will she. If you're running in a certain direction, so will she. And then you're also told if you slip off a cliff, she will fall right behind you. I thought that was
Lemming.
She's dedicated.
very interesting, I guess, to be included in there. So I thought that was funny. Haha. And then after I finished the game, I was kind of looking up some trivia. So within this area, if you knock her out, she'll start having sex dreams, and she'll be calling out to Snake, and she'll essentially be like, "Oh, Snake, like, oh, you're touching me right there. That's great." That's really
Wonderful experience.
And then whenever she wakes up, she'll immediately like freak out and punch you and be like, "Oh shit, sorry." And then you like recommence with the mission, I guess. I thought that was interesting. But
That's wonderful.
so the way that I got through this part, essentially a bunch of minions or what have you are following behind you. So I just started shooting at them, and with the aid of Eva, it's really hard to not give in to the desire to just say, hey, fuck this, I'm just gonna waste everybody at this point, because I think at this point in the game, like, I had just defeated the big bad, you know, I had just taken out Volgin, and I was really just wanting the game to be finished. And I've had this problem in like past Metal Gear games to where it's like, oh, here's the ending, oh, but you have to keep playing for just a little bit more until you get to the actual ending. So I was just wasting people. So you essentially walk up into this area, and at that point, no one's chasing you, and I just like sniped people out, and then I just kind of walked through and made it through. What about you guys?
Sick. Isaac. I
Fantastic.
want to hear from the newbie.
Yes, sir. That would be me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to hear it from the fresh-faced Asian boy.
Wow. Jesus.
Dang, dude. Racist over there.
All right, Isaac.
All right, so here we go, guys. Let me pull up my note that I
Isaac has notes?
have.
Hey, if you want to check the video chat real quick.
Oh, God.
Check it, mother. Kerr.
Whoa,
I
look
have
at
notes for
those.
you.
Wow, can't...
I have notes.
So it's physical and no?
Yeah.
Yes, we can confirm it. We can visually confirm there are notes.
Just want to let you know.
won't-
Just a friendly reminder.
can't see my notes.
So, Isaac.
Yeah? Anyway, okay, all right. So, I just wanted to say, first of all, when the, all right, so I just wanted to say, when the scene starts and all the guards start running in, trying to, because they know you're there, and so they're trying to try to find you or whatever. The goofiest music plays in this little cutscene. Anyway, so I didn't have too much of trouble getting through this section and the escort mission. It was kind of annoying because I would run off, and then Eva would just not be there, so I had to backtrack a lot to try to find her.
Did you triangle her?
Yeah.
Do you?
Well, yeah, but I didn't think about it until after I was like onto the other section.
Isaac got
and
to the
she
very
was-
end and was like, "Eva, come on."
She's like not there. But
I just
But then
imagined
I-
Isaac like running across a street and then whispering to himself like, "Hey, Alessio, come on." And I'm just like, I'm a mile away, dude. What are you doing?
I did do the wave like when she was totally out of sight and she didn't see it. So
Surprising.
surprisingly,
Realism.
but yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad. There were a lot of guards here that would just come up randomly. Good thing is Eva is good with that piece.
Colt
of
44?
hers. Yes.
That Colt 44 and 2 zigzags.
Yeah, man.
5.56ers and pineapple.
Chug it.
Well, mine was an Afro Man reference, but okay.
And then I had this one note that said, Eva waves to Snake to hurry up. I don't know when this was. Anyway, Eva waves to Snake to come on, and Snake does a goofy run to catch up to her. I don't know what that has to do with anything.
I'm sure it's in there somewhere.
It's I have a note.
Good notes,
That's
Isaac.
about it.
Good job.
Those are my notes. But it wasn't too bad. It was just kind of annoying because it was nothing new, really. I don't know. You know,
Very nice. Samuel, what was your
Yes, you will.
play experience like? Your PX.
It was very similar to both Isaac and Cameron. Because I didn't realize... I should have figured because it's an escort mission, so of course you have to baby bird the person you're escorting. But I didn't realize that if she's following you and you get too far ahead of her, she does not follow you. So I had to turn around and go back to where she was, which was by the spawn point of the dudes. So I had to take out like 6 waves of dudes because she couldn't move past their line of sight at the spawn point. So I just blasted them with a shotgun. And that was really fun. Because I posted my to kind of tie it back to everything that we've been talking about. I posted my clear screen to the Facebook page, and Mr. Ben Garibaldi Smith gave me shit for the amount of people that I killed. And my moral revelation that I had after fighting the Sorrow, I was like, fuck my moral revelation. These guys are all dead. So I just started killing people with a nice combination of a sniper rifle and shotgun and,
All the fun implements.
yeah, all the usual suspects. Took out a bunch of guys, and then just kind of like inchwormed with Eva until we got out to the lake.
Ooh, you inchwormed with Eva. I like that.
Yeah.
The
Very nice.
inchworm.
Solid
Alessio.
snake or big snakes inchworm.
So speaking of inchworms, actually that's not a proper segue whatsoever. So as soon as the crash happened and I collected all my goodies from the ammunition dump that you get, I actually ran to the right immediately and triggered a cutscene. Did you guys go straight to see what was further down? Because I did not. Does anybody remember?
Is the cutscene that you're talking about the
when the
cutscene?
No, when the dudes show up and stuff. I'm talking about like I ran as soon as you're with Eva, I like ran to the right and then got the cutscene that the dudes were coming. I didn't go straight, so I don't know what's down there. I apologize for not having done my due diligence.
Oh, I have no idea because I got that same cutscene.
Yeah.
I can't remember which way I ran.
Gotcha.
I got it pretty quickly after I cured. So,
Gotcha.
oops.
Just in general, I expected myself to hate this part of the game because I was like, "Fuck, I hate escort missions." But it was definitely not as egregious as I remember it being. Like Eva loses stamina pretty quickly for obvious reasons, but other than feeding her and kind of having to move along, I didn't think it was that bad. I non-lethaled. I non-lethaled the first section. So when the dudes come up from behind you, they were just like, who's that? Like, it's weird. When they see Eva first, instead of shooting or anything, they seem like super like, wait a minute, who the fuck is that? And so they were kind of dumbfounded for a second where they just weren't sure what was happening. So I just popped them all with the Mark 22 and put them to sleep. And then I made sure I like non-lethaled the first section because I was like, oh, I don't want to be a dick. But then once I got past the little snake boost part where Snake boosts Eva up, and I definitely noticed that Happy Snake is way less pervy now because there are no more R1 boob shots.
Yeah.
I was I was so ready to be like, Snake's a fucking womanizer because I expected him to be like checking out her tits the whole time, and I was like, dude, she's an injured woman. What the fuck are you doing right now? But he didn't. He actually had a little bit of decency to not do that. But once I got past this first section, I literally gave 0 fucks, just like Cameron was talking about, and I was like, I just want to get to the end. So I literally just like whipped out the sniper rifle and started fucking blowing dudes away.
Yes, sir.
I noticed for the first time maybe since I've been playing the game that there are totally dudes flat on their stomach waiting on you in some of the
In
areas.
the grass. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why them thermal goggles are so useful.
Well, and I was like, what is this trickery bullshit? Like, you guys weren't doing this before. Why are you doing it now? But yeah, so in that big open area that you get to just before the lake intro scene,
Yep.
I was just like, time to fucking lay siege to the forest. So I just went nuts and was throwing white phosphorus and fucking
Just
destroying.
carpet bombing the forest.
Yeah, they didn't even have to send the MiGs to fucking bomb the forest because I made sure there was not a living creature in that forest before I left.
I will say about that whole thing, I got like, it wasn't that bad of an escort mission, but I was still annoyed by her. So just to kind of get my own personal revenge, I was eating the delicious snakes and I was feeding her the rations. The Russian rations.
The
that made her
ration
wanna
Russian.
throw up. The Russian frasms. No, the Russian rations that made her want to puke. And that's all she ate the entire time.
Jeez,
and
man.
I felt pleased with myself.
I had like nothing except for those 2 Russian rations. So I was like, I hope to God we can get to the end before she runs out of stamina.
Yeah. Well, there's like snakes and stuff on the road on the way.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
And she loves them.
Yeah,
but-
but she didn't eat any. It was just me. She ate a bat. She ate a bat, and she ate Russian rations, and I ate delicious snakes and anacondas and shit.
Yeah.
Fucking bitch.
Man, dang.
Yikes, Sam.
I have a vendetta.
But yeah, essentially we segue into the lake intro cutscene, and it was definitely good to see the light at the end of the tunnel by the time we got to this point because I was nervous at the escort mission was going to go on for a really long time, but it was actually like not that bad. And so one thing that I thought was funny is as soon as you get into eyesight of the lake, Eva's like completely rejuvenated and is like, race you to the jet, and like runs off. And I was like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, no, she's fine for the rest of the game.
Yeah, Raiden's wig sure looked like a jet. And essentially when Eva turns around and looks at Snake and goes, it's the boss, isn't it? I literally just wrote down the words, cue tears here. So I was like, the minute she was like, it's the boss, isn't it? I was like, no.
No, it's not. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, but then Snake decides to take a little... Snake takes a detour from the lake to enter the most beautiful fucking boss arena field in video games. And then randomly we're hit in the face with a fire blast for no reason.
Yeah, like, why you gotta fire off that nuke, lady?
Well, like, what was that? Is that what that... Like,
That
what the
was
fuck?
I
very
think she
confusing.
fired off, like, a nuke, like another one of those, like, hand nukes, I think.
Yeah, that
That's
was
what I've
very,
always
very
pictured
confusing.
that.
I didn't know if she just blew up Eva, or if she was like shooting at me, or like what even the point of that was.
Do you see her with the nuke in her hand?
Yeah,
don't
she
think so.
walks
There's,
in and she has like the nuke in her hand, and she's like, "Hey, what's up, Snake?" And then she drops the
she
nuke.
Oh, I didn't see her. I just saw the fire blast, and then Snake sees her. I don't know if I like looked away from the screen at the wrong time, but I had no idea what that was. I was like, is this a metaphor? Like, are we entering her domain?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what's going
it's
on?
really weird because she walks into frame and all you see is the gun, and then you see it drop, and then you see her face. So I don't understand the symbolic, whatever the fuck Hideo is trying to do with that.
I mean, is it
it
possible
seemed-
that she was bombing Groznygrad? Because I know that they, towards the end of the game, they mentioned that Groznygrad is like obliterated. So is it
no, I mean
possible
like
that she was.
the screen goes red, and then you see the tops of trees have been like fucked up. So it's, I guess, insinuated that it is right where you were, or like right around where you were, which is the reason why I thought that it had something to do with Eva.
Oh, gotcha. Huh. Well, I'll have to double
Yeah,
check that.
I have
That's
no idea.
interesting. But yeah, so essentially we introduce this boss fight with the boss. And her goal, she kind of goes through her whole story, and the boss's goal is admirable and tragic, especially in the wake of this battle. Essentially, the boss's philosophy is that she is utilizing the shitty systems of the world to try to bring about peace, and that she's kind of put in this tragic position where she's trying to be the best sort of patriot and fighting for her beliefs that she can, but unlike Solid Snake in previous games, who says like, who lives by Gray Fox's motto of like, at least I fight for what I believe in, and I choose to fight for nobody but myself. She instead tries to fight for what she believes in while being manipulated. And so it's kind of upsetting to see somebody trapped in a situation that they can't get out of. But her philosophy in general, to be completely frank for a second, is why I've never had any interest in joining the armed forces, just to get really personal. Because like I don't understand. If you feel so strongly about your philosophy on life, I don't understand why you would choose to fight for somebody who you don't agree with, whenever you can just very clearly not put yourself in that situation. So, but again, she goes on and on about honor and duty. And her dialogue, in my opinion, is literally the most mature without being on the nose that I think Metal Gear Solid ever gets. She talks about some really, really hefty shit without it divulging into corny genetic MGS1 material, or without it turning into ultra heady meta MGS2 stuff. To me, she sounds the most like a fucking normal human being, I think, than any character has thus far. And she goes in depth about how she was a nuclear test subject, but she also tells us that Snake was also a nuclear test subject,
Yeah.
which I thought was super interesting, and it never comes up again.
Is he an X-Man too?
He might be.
He must be with the amount of pain and damage he could take. Wolverine.
He's like emotional
He's like-
Wolverine.
Yeah, he's like Liev Schreiber Wolverine.
But
Specifically Liev Schreiber.
and the other thing I wanted to make clear is that I think we confused this earlier on in this season, but the Boss and the Fury appear to have been on completely separate space flights. I believe that the Fury might have gone to space for the Soviet Union because he has that CCCP logo on his suit.
Yep.
And so not only then, but then the Boss goes into the specifics with the Sorrow, which I thought was very sad. Yeah. And then we get hit with a shit ton of philosopher information. She specifically names drops the Wise Men's Committee, which the Wise Men's Committee is the list of 12 people that are all dead at the end of MGS2.
Yep.
I like how she says snake, and in her subtitles, snake is in quotes, which I thought was interesting. And the Boss talks about how she is the last remaining child of the philosophers. And she essentially tells us how her baby was stolen from her, and we can deduce that Ocelot was taken away from her.
Yes.
I also thought it was interesting, if you remember back to the first episode of the season when Zero codenames Snake Snake, he says that Snake will come to find out what that means. And I think at first it's like, oh, it's insinuated that it's the Cobra unit, which is how Snake gets his name. But I believe that Zero knew about the Boss's scar and maybe named him Snake for that reason. Because that to me, that seems to be the more kind of personal connection. But yeah, but that's all of the shit that happens in the cutscenes. I want to let you guys talk a little bit before we talk about the boss fight, about what you took away from the cutscenes. Cameron, it sounds like you got something to say, so I will kick it on over to you.
You had a rant, didn't you?
Yeah, so, all right. I just want to start this off by saying I'm sorry that I am this way. And I'm sorry
I
that
apologize for me.
I so supremely disagree with you, Alessio.
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
All right, so my problem with Boss's speech is that it feels very juvenile in the ideas that it wants to explore, and it also feels very forced. I say juvenile in the sense that it sounds like something written by a kid who just read 1984 or Atlas Shrugged for their summer reading course in high school. The ideas explored are, war is bad, pollution is bad, the government is bad. Everything is just a pissing contest, and we're all but pawns in their game. And maybe I just have fatigue on like games and movies and books that try and throw in some big, deep pseudo message, because that's the direction that media has taken. It's like bigger is better, and like pump it up to 11. The louder you are, the better you are. And I disagree with that. So, I mean, maybe, yeah, that's just like a personal opinion. But like as far as the dialogue, the actual dialogue that sort of explains these like surface level ideas, it just feels really forced. It sounds like that kid who read 1984 has to write a paper on the book, and it has like a 500 word minimum, but he could only come up with 200 because he does, like, his ideas are very surface level, and they're just regurgitations of what he thinks is a complex view on a complex matter. And because I wrote some of her quotes down. She says, a world without capitalism or communism, that is a world I want to see, but reality continues to betray me. We're both just slowly being eaten away by the karma of others. But one day, people will realize we are all just inhabitants of a little celestial body called Earth. And that just seems like bad writing to me, but I mean, with saying like the takeaway of the game is amplified unnecessarily, I will say that the actual on paper story is as well, which I guess is like a bit of a trademark for Hideo, so I have like less problems with this. But Boss says, by the way, my father was a philosopher. By the way, I'm the last remaining child of the philosophers. by the way, I was on a mission and I was pregnant. By the way, I had to give birth on the battlefield. And this just sounds like someone embellishing a story that they're telling because halfway through the story they feel like it's not engaging enough. And so, yeah, they pump it up. And that kind of goes back to the turned it to 11. And so ultimately, I don't know, I just feel like this game is trying to be something that it's not with this whole speech.
I guess I'll add a little bit. I can kind of see that, but what I want to kind of throw in there is that if you're kind of paying attention to the rest of the game and listening to codec calls and things like that, a lot of the information she throws at you there at the end is kind of like given to you in chunks, like hinted at throughout the course of the game. And they're just using that as an opportunity to explicitly say it. There's a lot of undercurrent going throughout the entire game.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think maybe my problem isn't exactly with what's being said. It's that, like, hey, by the way, in case no one was intelligent enough to comprehend what it was that we were trying to say, let's just say the entire thing, and let's just yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say I think across the board, the one thing that I will pull from that I will 100% get behind is that I think every Metal Gear game has the same sort of problem where it's almost like, and this game, to be transparent, is not written by Hideo Kojima. It's written by Hideo Kojima and two other writers. So there's like a whole team of writers. So I think the issue, and that's actually the first three games I believe were actually written by Hideo Kojima and two other names, which are completely escaping me right now. And a lot of people would argue that the games after 3, the story suffers because it's just Kojima writing after 3. But I think that
4 is fucking nuts.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, we'll get to it. But I think all the Metal Gear games 1, 2, and 3 that we've covered so far, I think they all suffer from, there are so many side codec conversations that you might not get, and so hoping that you called Eva during the Ocelot boss fight to hear about the boss's child that got taken away from her at the beginning of the game is one thing, but I think what ends up happening is that the story doesn't feel complete and the team decides that you need to hear it reiterated again at the end. And for all of us who did hear those codec conversations, it feels redundant and stupid. But I think that the writing team is probably just like, we need to make sure that they get this information before the game is over. And so I do think that the Metal Gear games tend to repeat themselves a lot, especially towards the end, just to make sure you were paying attention. And whether or not that's something that you enjoy or don't enjoy, I think just depends on your tolerance for kind of being repeated to over and over again.
Because a lot of those like long cutscenes come from the fact that a lot of them involve info dumps of just pertinent stuff.
For sure. Isaac, what did you think? I haven't heard from you.
Wow, there's quite a lot that was said. No,
man, you're good.
No, that's really detailed and it's good.
This is why we got different voices on the show.
Yeah. I don't really have much more to add because I think you guys pretty much explained and expounded upon pretty much every facet of the cutscene that we are talking about. But I just thought it was interesting when she talked about war and how all the entities are always changing sides. So I think going back to your question about why did she go back to the country that she hated the most and fight for them, and she made a comment about how Russia and the U.S. were enemies, or were enemies now, but were allies not too long ago, like back in I don't know, but they were allies during one of the wars, and then not too long after that they became enemies. So then she said, will they be enemies still in the 21st century? and then she kind of leaves that up to Snake to interpret. So I don't know if she hated Russia or whatever, but she might have felt compelled to go back for one reason or the other.
Well, and as we learned later on, she didn't actually go back to Russia. That was part of her kind of cover.
No, yeah, but the whole
but being a part
spoilers.
of the mission, yeah.
Spoilers, IRL, we're not besties with Russia, but I'd say we're okay. I'd say we're on good terms.
I will say part of me. So if you look at everything that happened throughout the Cold War, like we all raced to get to the moon. We all raced to essentially have infrastructure for data, aka the internet. We all raced to do all this crazy shit up until like 1989, 1990. So I will honestly say, I think to some extent, like now we have technology race. So now we have like cell phone carriers duking it out to see who can have the biggest dick in like the like mobile device industry. But I will say, I mean, I personally put a lot of merit into what she's saying about all of these just being arenas for meaningless competition, because I almost think that the Cold War jump-started technology, jump-started infrastructure, jump-started like this race to go to the moon. And now if you look in modern times, like NASA's not even fucking funded by the government anymore. The government seemingly doesn't give a shit about space exploration. Yeah. And so I mean, I personally feel like competition amongst different groups of people is what does cause progress. So I think she's making a valid point, albeit the dialogue might be crude to some. I think that the things that she's saying, at least for me, resonated. But that's just my take.
I mean, I feel like it's not entirely thought out because the thought where she says the government wanted human data, so they secretly sent humans into space. That human was me. To say that all of this was just about a means of saying, hey, I can do this better than you can, why would she then turn around and say they sent the first human to space, didn't tell anybody about it, simply so that they could get the data and figure out, what that even means, and that human was me. But like, I don't know, I feel like that doesn't really fit with her whole like speech about Americans are only doing this to prove that they're better than the USSR, but they did this really big secret thing and they didn't tell anybody about it.
Yeah, well, and that, I mean, a lot of it too has to do with the fact that essentially what we're playing is a conspiracy theory. Like the whole story is like historical fiction in like the goofiest way, just to like plug these characters into like a real world event that happened.
Yeah.
To make us like have a little bit more to like kind of ground it in reality a little bit more. And I think, I mean, when all is said and done, Metal Gear is not unlike Tom Clancy novels, where it's just like some dude's like wet dream about military espionage.
Yeah.
To be completely honest. But I think that like we're also dealing with a culture that like fucking anime is ultra melodramatic. And so I feel like in a way, for me, I could kind of suspend my disbelief and not and like while I'm watching this cutscene, even after I've played it a couple of different times, I'm never really thinking to myself like, well, what did the writers think while they were writing this? For me, I'm like more invested in the characters to where I can look past the kind of like melodramatic sob story, over the top soap opera dialogue to just think of it as like the emotional situation that's happening, as opposed to like how goofy everything is. Because at this point, I mean, we fought a fucking Spider-Man and we've fought against bees. And like, I mean, at this point, my disbelief is through the fucking roof. So I don't really care about how they're fudging the politics. But I see where you're coming from, Cameron.
Yeah, I mean, I think my thing is like, I guess I'm analyzing it in a sense of like, what is Hideo trying to say with this? Like what's his message?
Super,
like what's
super
what's
simple
the
message.
yeah, like what's the
Game one, which is
takeaway?
like, guns are bad.
Yeah,
But-
and we're like I agree with that, I guess, and like or rather like I understand that, but I think what I'm ultimately trying to say is that it feels very forced, and if you have such a simplistic ideology, let the story be simplistic.
Yeah,
in that
I could see
sense.
that. Almost like overcomplication for overcomplication's sake. I could see that for sure.
Yeah, but I'll stop.
No. Like I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah,
But
This is good.
I think even though the writing has a habit to be overly complicated just to seem complex, I think that at its core, this is like an emotional scene between this motherly figure and her son coming to like take everything that she has left from her. You know what I mean? So it's still
Yeah.
like a really fucking sad scene. But it is almost like a Fast and the Furious script where it's written with crayon a little bit.
yeah. All right.
And honestly, when you think about it too, where she's explaining it to Snake, who is the king of having to repeat things to himself after he's told them. So,
Wait a minute. Are you saying she's talking down to him because he's a
I'm
stupid
saying
boy?
that. I'm saying that that Cameron's saying that it sounds like the ideology of a 12-year-old, but she is explaining it to somebody who's
kind of a 12-year-old.
kind of a 12-year-old boy.
That's true. I do often forget about the repeating because I did write this down whenever Eva, like whenever they cross the threshold or whatever, she's like, "We made it," and Snake's like, "We made it."
He just can't. He can't not. Yeah, but now we're making the writers sound super intelligent by saying no, they wrote it that way on purpose. So I think we could spin in
giving-
circles for a million years.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and
Before we move
I would
on-
also
before we move on to-
like to just quickly say that like I will use reverence in this in the sense that like this is a translated game, and this
Oh, yeah.
some of this may fall upon the translators, so not totally hating.
Somewhere along the line, somebody fucked up. No, I'm kidding.
Somebody fucked up. Before we move on to the boss battle, I was doing some reading. So apparently, the boss. It says here the boss later used the second shell from the Davy Crockett to obliterate Grozny Grad and Granini Gorky.
Boom.
So that's what she was doing.
Boom. I think
beginning
it might be revealed in some Ocelot dialogue that we will hear later.
I'm sure.
But
But
well, sweet. So
wanted to throw that out there.
real quick, just to get some formality stuff knocked out before we dive into the boss fight and talk about all of our experiences, I'm just going to drop some info. So if you non-lethal the boss, you get Snake uniform or the Snake uniform.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to equip it and see what it did because by the time I got it, the game was over. So I'm not quite sure what it does. But there are also 3 white snakes hidden in the battlefield, and if you can spot them and trank them or kill them and put them in your inventory, you can see what they're called. And they are called Solid, Liquid, and Solidus, which I thought was super cool. And yeah, I think other than that, we can pretty much dive into the boss fight. So how did you guys do this? And Cameron, let's start with you again. What was this fight like?
I'm still a little winded.
From the fight or from the discussion?
Isaac,
From the discussion.
Well, I just
from the pizza
wanted
rolls
to
or from the
say,
discussion?
I've
well, we just
had a
left
steady
one
break
little,
from the pizza roll, so I went back to it.
we
Sorry,
left,
go
one
ahead.
little segment,
Isaac, you got it.
segue out to the battle
Wow.
was that the reason why you're fighting her is because the mission is for you to kill her, essentially. So
Yeah.
that's why it's sad, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that too, essentially, the boss gives you, dude. I mean, it's pretty fucking intense. Whenever she ramps up to her, like, "Let's do this, bitch."
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, she gives you 10 minutes, otherwise there's a bunch of MiGs that are going to bomb the fucking
yeah.
whole place.
She's like, "You got 10 minutes to do." No, like, essentially, she's like, "All right, Snake, I've trained you. I've given you a place. I've like given you a way to interact with the world around you. You've been my protege. I've given you everything that I have left to give you. The only thing left for me to give you is my life. Come and take it, and if you're gonna be a bitch about it, I'm gonna have fucking jets blow this place up, and you have to do this, so let's rock and roll heaven or hell. And she totally pops her fucking infinity ammo clip into her Patriot and just like comes at you. And it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, but yes,
pretty
I apologize
intense.
for not segueing. Because
No.
it's really heavy. It's really cool.
Isaac. Good call, Isaac.
Cue the best boss fight in Metal Gear. So
The
go
whole
ahead,
thing.
Isaac. What's it like?
Well, it's just frustrating for me.
Oh man! Immediately, like it's like the car took off and then the tire popped off the axle, like in the driveway.
Well, that's what it felt like when I started this boss battle. I'm not gonna lie.
Whoa.
No, it was a good boss battle. I liked it a lot. It was just I died a lot. Okay, and I couldn't understand what I was doing wrong. And I mean, half the time was because the time ran out or whatnot. But I equipped the camo or whatever camo I could find best. White camo. I think I did the snow camo.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And I did that Japanese face paint camo.
That a boy.
The geisha mask.
Is it the Kabuki one?
Yeah, something like that. One of those. Anyway, but
Oyama.
yeah, that one. So, one thing I couldn't figure out was whenever she rushes you or whenever she gets close to you and then it goes to hand-to-hand combat, I was mashing is it square, and she would just grab me by the arm or the neck and throw me down. And I don't know how you were to counteract that.
You got
so-
you got a CQC. You got to hold circle and wiggle in her direction or whatever. Essentially, you just like
You
treat it
gotta
like you're
hold it?
CQCing somebody.
Yeah. You gotta time it right.
Yeah, with circle, not
Oh.
square.
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah, it was either circle or square. I couldn't remember. Button placements. Anyway, but so that's one thing I messed up on. Then there you go. So you got to hold it because I was like mashing it, and that wasn't working.
You can. I don't know. So for me, it's one of those weird things where I just kind of like I was like feel it, and I just like mashed circle at the right time, and then as I was holding it, I would just like push in the direction that she was coming from, and he would just like break out of her lock. And sometimes I would break out of her lock, and she would like sit there for a second, and then I would just fucking slam her into the ground. So it felt pretty good for me. I don't know. It felt like playing Dark Souls or something, where I was just like parry. You know what I mean? And I was just like, yes.
Yeah. So that was one of the sources of my frustration is I just couldn't figure that part out, I guess. But the
I don't like
sniping-
how she's invincible against bullets while she's shooting you. I noticed.
yeah. Well,
Mm.
it was some sort of shield. It felt like because you would see like this.
Was she
force shield.
shooting your bullets out of the air? Maybe.
Oh, hey, that's a possibility.
She is king of the X-Men. So
She had
Does that
Lady
entitle her?
Xavier.
Yeah.
Li-
So
Charlene Xavier.
so anyway,
I could see Charlize Theron. I could see Charlize Theron playing as the boss in a movie.
boss.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How awesome would that be?
You
Anyway, sorry.
okay? I don't know where I was going with this. Oh, fighting.
Did you
boss.
non-lethal?
So this time around, I was like, "There's no way I'm not going to non-lethal." So I stuck with the M22 2. Oh man, it's been so long. I stuck with the tranquilizer, so I was like, I'm not gonna do lethal on her, because you got to pay your respect to the boss. And so it wasn't too bad. So sniping her with the tranquilizer and the Mosin Nagant was not too bad. But then I just couldn't figure out the hand-to-hand combat, and that destroyed me. So, but I got it eventually, like on
Nice.
the 20th playthrough.
Aw.
I don't know, something. I felt like it. Well, like each battle was like 10 minutes long for me because it went pretty much the whole time.
Whole timer.
Yep.
That's what had me the most nervous throughout my. I mean, trying to think. I think I maybe had to start over the fight once, but I think for me, the thing that had me the most stressed out was the timer, because I was like, I don't know if I can get her down in her stamina bar enough
10 minutes.
in time. But
Yeah.
Sam, I'll kick it over to you. What was your
So
experience? Your victory lap
I did the
since you've
same
been here before.
my victory lap. Yeah, my victory lap. Well, I did it the first try because I'm awesome.
Congrats.
No, so the snow camo and the Oyama face paint when you're laying down gives you a 95 camo index.
Jeez.
And when you're crouched, it gives you 65. So after she charged me the first time, essentially what I did was get as far as fuck away from her as I possibly can, and then crouch and use the thermal goggles with the Mosin Nagant, and just kind of snipe her from across the battlefield. And then she kind of runs at you. But there was a point about 5 minutes into the battle where she just stopped running after me and kept on hiding behind this tree. So I just kind of waited until she popped her head out and sniped her, and it kind of knocked her down all the way. I think I had about 3 minutes left when I took her down.
MLG Sam Wright over here. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, it was weird because I kept on expecting her to charge, because it was a lot more difficult because she would actually charge after me, and I would have to like either roll away or kind of like hide so I could avoid her. And there was just a certain point where after I ran away from her and started crouching at the other end, she went behind this tree to hide, and she wouldn't come out to chase me anymore, and I would just kind of wait for her to pop out. And I was like, this is strange.
You broke the game, Sam.
I guess
So,
I did.
One
But
thing.
I got that sweet snake camo, and I put it on for the cutscene.
Sorry.
You good?
So
I'm sorry.
Go for it.
Okay. One thing, and you guys probably didn't catch this because you guys only probably played it once through. But after around the 4-minute mark, or 4 minutes left, the Snake, the Metal Gear Solid 3 theme comes on, and it's interesting. I don't know. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to piggyback off of Isaac and say that song Snake Eater,
yeah,
best part in the game. By far.
Nice.
it just kind of like starts happening at like 5 minutes
Yeah.
left, and it was like awesome.
Yeah, that song is great. Now I'm going to be entirely honest with you guys, okay? I'm not going to hold anything back, and
Keep it up. Keep it up.
Show me your move.
fuck. All right,
Uh-oh.
here it comes, guys. Okay. Sorry, I do feel a little out of breath because I'm out of shape. I need to hit the gym. All right, so here's
Pizza rolls.
yeah, it's these pizza rolls, dude. They're fucking me up. All right, here's how I feel.
How dare you? I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, God.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm expecting. All right, I thought that boss saying, "I've given you all of this shit. Now the only thing left for you to do is kill me," was so fucking stupid and ridiculous that I didn't even want to do the boss fight. And this is kind of reminiscent of my problems with Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid 1, where I really just wanted resolution, and now I had to fight boss. And by doing that, I had to wrestle her to the ground and repeatedly kick her skull about 30 or 40 times. And this just didn't need to be a boss fight. It just didn't need to be. It could have been anything but a boss fight.
Did you not hear throughout the entire game whenever you were told that your mission is to kill the boss?
Yes, I did. Now, being told that my mission to kill the boss and being told by the boss, kill me, I feel is two separate things.
But
Well, the whole thing is that she knows that that's your mission.
yeah, like
Unless I missed something.
No, yeah, she is on a covert op for the U.S. government. So her mission is to wreck shop with the Soviets and then be killed by Snake. Like, her mission is to die. Like, that is her mission. But, like, your mission is to kill her, and so she is playing her part. Like, her whole monologue before the boss fight is about how you both have roles to play and you have to play your parts. And even though it sucks, and even though nobody wants this to happen, she has to do her duty as a soldier and fulfill her mission, which is to die by your hands.
But why?
Okay. Because she wouldn't have had to have done that if Volgin didn't launch a U.S. labeled nuclear device at a Soviet facility. So originally the plan was for the boss to quote-unquote defect to the Soviet Union and to join Volgin's ranks so that she could infiltrate Volgin from inside and get access to the Philosopher's legacy and bring it back to the United States. What ended up happening in the beginning of the game when Volgin is on the helicopter and he decides to be a dumbass and shoot a nuke at a Soviet research facility is that it then sets off this chain of political incidents, essentially notifying the USSR that their plan, or notifying the USSR that the U.S. had nuked a Soviet site. And so
Yeah.
in doing the fuck up that Volgin was not supposed to do, the USSR requested blood and essentially said to the United States, if you guys do not execute the boss yourselves and you don't deal with this fucking mess, we are literally going to declare war on the United States and launch nukes on the United States and start World War III. And so in order to prevent the world from entering a global conflict, the boss has to die by U.S. hands.
Yeah.
So it's essentially all set in motion because Volgin's fucking retarded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I realize that I'm wrong. Like,
What? No, I'm not trying to...
I accept. I accept that. Like, that's the story set forth, I guess. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, you don't have to be right or wrong. I was just letting you know that it wasn't just like out of nowhere. That it was.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. No.
building.
Like, yeah. I understand that it's like not out of nowhere, and that there are like supposed reasons for it having to happen, I guess. But I don't know. It just. I didn't want Bay to die. Nah,
well,
nah,
you will find
that's
out
wrong.
that I didn't want her to die either.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I retract that. Honestly, I think at this point, I had played the game in like little spurts here and there, and honestly had kind of forgotten that was the reason why she had to die, and yeah, I didn't realize that. So yeah.
That's fine. I think I'm mostly just upset that you missed out on like the last moment of this boss fight because it's kind of intense.
Yeah. Well, I watched it.
That's true.
I didn't get to play it.
But your fingers got to be on the trigger, dude.
I understand. And I'm sorry, and I understand that that's like, I guess, my innate negativity bleeding in and affecting this in a negative sense, as negativity would. But
I think you're fine, man. I think so. For me, I think it's super interesting that you decided to. I think it's super interesting that you were able to withhold saying anything until this moment. So, like, essentially, you've like held this in for weeks. So I think it's super interesting that we're able to talk about this like live on the show, never having talked about it before. So I think
Yeah,
it's super
well-
cool conversation.
Well, I tried playing the game in the sense of like, I played it up until the point to where we did the podcast, and then I waited a bit. So it was actually 2 days ago that I like finished the game, or like got to that point. Yeah, I mean, I probably should have played it all the way through, but I think my thing was like maybe there's reasons for this happening, and you do have to kill her, but I feel like this game has bent the rules so much in storytelling, and so much has been like, well, that's just the way that I want the story to go. Doesn't matter if it's coherent, doesn't matter if it actually makes sense. This is just what I want to happen. In terms of like Metal Gear as a whole, I guess, it's been like, why is this the one thing that can't bend? And, yeah, I don't know. It felt weird to me at the time, but I understand like where I was wrong at that now.
Yeah, well, and like I said, I don't think we're trying to scold you. I just
No, for sure. Yeah. I understand. Like, I know you're not scolding me, but I'm also saying like I was wrong about that.
Gotcha. Well, so this is gonna be really fucking awkward for my next note. My next note is cue the best ending in video games.
Sorry.
You're fine.
See, I think I've just been spoiled because I've been playing Paper Mario Sticker Star. And
That's got to be it.
yeah.
Oh my
Got
gosh.
it. That's awesome. So, essentially, wrapping up with the fight with the boss. Boss is incapacitated, falls on her back in the middle of this field, and effectively she begs for Snake to put her down. She sheds a single tear, and then the camera pulls out. And I'm curious, Isaac, was it telegraphed to you well that you had to push R1 to kill the boss or square?
Well, no. But it was really pretty because the camera just was stationary and overhead above you and boss with the gun to her lying body. I was like, man, that's really beautiful. What's gonna happen now?
It's like,
And then about a minute goes by and it's still happening, and then like, oh, oh, dang. And then I couldn't figure
there,
out which
like-
button to push. So I was just like, so instead of like the whole, oh man, this is gonna suck, and push the button to shoot her, I was like, crap, which button is it? And I was like, just mashing all the buttons, and then she died. So
Damn.
is there like a thing in place where if you let it sit for too long, it'll do it automatically, or
Yeah, so my note is every single time I've beaten this game, I've literally never pulled the trigger. And
dang.
if you wait long enough, Snake will just do it.
how long do you have to wait?
I believe it feels like a little while, but it's not as long as you would think. So I think it might
less
be
time as it takes to climb the ladder?
Yeah, it's less time. It's less time than climbing the ladder, which means it's under 3 minutes. So I think it's like maybe around 2 minutes or so. You can just sit there, and there'll just be this kind of like moment where all you can hear is the wind. And yeah, I don't know what it is, man. Like, so the first time I played it, and I could kind of tell because like the letterboxing will kind of go away, like the top and the bottom kind of lift up to like show you, hey, you're in the game again. And so I was like, well, I wonder if anything will happen if I just don't do it. And then like the first time I played it, that's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, I wonder if something will happen. And I waited and waited and waited, and then bang. And it like kind of startled me because I was like, oh my God, like I just didn't expect it. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
And so whenever I played again every time since then, I'm just like, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm just going to let it happen. And so fun fact, I've never shot the boss. So you can't put that on me, god damn it. I didn't do it. Sam, did you shoot the boss?
Yes.
Aw. Well, at least you didn't do it by accident like Isaac.
Yeah, no, I was sitting there and I was like, I don't like, do I, because I forgot that you had that was what was happening. So I was kind of confused with Isaac, and then like I slowly came to the realization. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then I was like, fuck. So I like had my finger on the button. I was like, okay. And then I pressed it and it was like, no.
It's real doo-doo town.
It hurt me to do. I will say that.
Yeah. Well, and I do like it how I like it. This is fucked up. I do like how when it happens, all of the flowers change color.
Yeah, to red. That's super like visually striking.
Yeah.
Like it's fantastic.
Yeah. One for me too, having just played MGS5, like there's the pedal imagery from this scene is in like a part of MGS5. And so I was just like, oh fuck, here we are again. I think it's really interesting. So ever since I was replaying the game for the show, so there are prompts where it'll tell you during cutscenes to press R1, but there are also secret R1 moments during cutscenes where you can see in first person if you just hold the button. And in this instance, once the cutscene starts after you kill the boss, if you hold R1, and I've literally never ever saw this until this moment when I was playing for the show. Wow. It made me pretty fucking sad. If you hold R1, Snake will look up from her body, and you can see the Sorrow and the boss standing next to each other side by side.
Yeah, it's
Dang.
And my next note says, and so passes one of the greatest female characters in video games. So
my soul hurt.
Yeah.
My heart hurt.
It
all hurt.
It's real sad. In a way that I never thought Metal Gear could be sad. Like, not to reiterate all the past shit that we've said about this moment, but to me, I was like, this is legitimately upsetting. And like, even when sad shit has happened in other Metal Gear games, you're kind of detached from it and you're like, okay, whatever. But in this game, it was like, fuck, like this is really sad.
I will say, so to kind of, because Alessio, you'll know what I'm talking about, I'm sure, but to kind of tiptoe around it without spoiling it, there's that scene towards the end of Metal Gear Solid 4. Not quite as sad, but still kind of similarly
pretty
striking.
Sad.
Yeah. So,
but when I think it's
this
a lot.
This one takes the cake.
I think it does primarily because of that interactivity. Because Metal Gear is so much about watching shit happen. That when they actually
when you participate in it,
it's a little bit more powerful. But yeah. So just to kind of segue us into the next section.
Well, I want to throw this out there really quick because she said that 10 minutes. 10 minutes you had to kill her and to get to the wig and escape, right? So I kill her, I have 3 minutes left, and as soon as the battle ended, I turned on a timer. And as long as this cutscene takes, we would have done been dead. So,
yeah. Well, needless to say, when I beat her, I was like almost out of time. So this does not happen in 10 seconds.
No.
But one thing that we did forget to mention is as soon as the boss dies, almost like on a schedule, the horse from the beginning comes up and essentially mourns the death of the boss as well, which I thought was interesting.
He does like a howl. Like
the horse is like,
yeah. And I got really scared for the fucking horse because I forgot that they call the jets off. and I was like, holy shit, no, not the horse. I got really scared and upset.
For a second, I thought the horse was going to eat her body. I was like, no, that's fucked up.
Oh my God.
The horse just like takes a bite out of her face.
Yummy.
You went way darker, dude.
How funny.
Like, first things first, this horse is going to eat the boss and then we're going to blow up the horse with the boss inside of her.
How funny would it... Well, then they can't recover the body. How funny would it have been if the horse rears back to yell and then a fucking man's voice was just like, no! Like I think I would have died. I would have gone from like tears in my eyes to like laughter tears in my eyes like immediately.
Yeah.
But
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so essentially, old Snakeu, he's like, this is real sad, but I got to get the fuck out of here. And he books it.
Well, then right before that, it shows Boss's body and the scar that she
yeah,
has.
okay.
scar
Yeah, let's talk about
Slithers
this.
crawls
real
off her
quick.
stomach and turns into a snake. Like, what the fuck?
and turns into a snake and slithers away.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna choose to ignore that part. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so Snake books it to the plane. Eva's just sort of like, "Did you do it?" And Snake's just sort of like, "Meh." And they're going to take off and all this stuff, and it seems like Eva and Snake finally have like a moment of respite in the middle of all this craziness. And then out of nowhere, not only do we have to worry about the MiGs coming in and fucking shit up, but I can't remember. Do the MiGs get called off before our good friend comes to join us or after?
I think it's before. Wait.
No, it has to be after.
No,
because-
it's before. It's they called off after.
Yeah, because our little homie, Mr. Ocelot, shows up on one of those fucking weird hover segways, and he fucks up the engine, making it hard for Eva.
I literally
to pull
said,
up.
again, somehow I forgot this happened. I literally said out loud, "God fucking damn it, Ocelot," when this happened.
Yeah. So Ocelot shows up, ironically enough, right after his mommy got put down, and breaks through the door of the ship, gets inside of the ship, and him and Ocelot have a little
Powwow. Come to
Powwow.
Jesus meeting.
yeah, and they I don't know, just nice timing on maximum annoyance on this shit, Ocelot.
Jesus,
and he
that's
says-
like this is the only thing that I didn't have a problem with. Like, I was glad to see Ocelot again, and I was really glad to see that, like, he had one more final say, because I thought him, like, getting run off the road was really anticlimactic to, like, his story. He was just like, damn it.
Yeah,
But-
his final moment is just stomping on his hat and being like, "God, they got away." But-
yeah, I was glad to see Ocelot in this scene. And
I love.
what's up?
I was gonna say I love this cutscene. Continue all stuff.
No, I love it because, like, he's like, oh shit. Snake says something about, like, oh, I know some fighting stuff. And Ocelot does this thing. He gets into his fighting stance, and I guess this is the big reveal. We find out that his fighting stance is that hand gesture that he's been doing. Like, he shoots the little guns at you, but, like, that's him assuming the fighting stance. And I thought that was amazing. He was just like,
he's been foreshadowing it the entire game.
yeah.
This is how he fights.
Well, the best goddamn moment is whenever he pokes Snake in the eye.
Oh my god! And the Snake just smiles. All this
so
shit. This is my favorite. All this shit that Snake has gone through this game, and he's still able to take this guy in a brawl. This fucker must be an X-Men. Like, because seriously, he smiled after being punched in his missing eye because that should still fucking hurt. There's something wrong with Snake.
Yeah, like Snake, he still has an open wound under that eye patch.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck, dude?
I just love how he's like,
Oh.
oh, it's so good. I will say,
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more.
I think before they take off, I forgot to mention this. Eva says the lines, "I told you you could trust me," and I think
Yeah,
that might be
fuck
the
that bitch.
most untrustworthy phrase in existence of the English language. Like, yes. But I'm really goddamn surprised that Snake did not go on like a frustration rampage and just fucking murder Ocelot with his bare hands. Because it'd be like if I had to go out back and put my dog down, and then like somebody pulled up and they were like, "Hey man, I'm peeing in your yard," like, it's just like, are you fucking serious right now? And I just like expected Snake to just be like, I'm not playing your games, and then literally murders Ocelot in the back.
Punch
of the
him in the
plane.
face and throw him out of the fucking jet.
I just expected him to just like 28 Days Later style, just like thumbs in the eyeballs, like fucking rip Ocelot's face apart. But
I lost an eye. I'm gonna lose both.
But yeah, so essentially they fight back and forth, and it's kind of fun. I definitely remembered in this cutscene, I was like, well, fuck, Ocelot and Snake are like maybe 8 or 9 years apart in age, so this is kind of funny. It's just like two young dudes tossing around in the back of the airplane. And Ocelot just decides, fuck all the fancy footwork. Let's just get 3 guns out here, put a bullet in one of them, or 2 guns out here, put a bullet in one of them, and play some Russian roulette, and then we get to pick the gun.
Yep.
Would it have been so hard for them to let you use the engine in first person to point your hand at one of the guns? I thought it was really
I was
weird.
gonna say,
Yeah,
they
that
clunked-
you like
they
suddenly go to
clunkily-
third person and walk at it real fast. And
Yeah, that's not.
and it's in a
necessary.
floating box, which I thought was really
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, that was unnecessary.
I would have
It's
preferred
like-
just a consistent cutscene, especially knowing that the outcome was the same regardless.
Yeah, just focus on a gun and pick it, or like just have Snake pick it automatically in the cutscene. They're not shy about things happening in cutscenes in this game, so just do it that way.
Yeah. Well. So is it the same with both?
I don't think I think you have an option to be the one that shoots.
Yeah. What?
But they
So
probably could have.
what happened with you guys? Because I picked the left gun, and my last bullet was a bullet.
I picked the right gun, and it was and he had the blank.
Yeah, I did the
Oh,
right.
okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I picked the left gun, and we were just like clicking at each other. And then as soon as my gun went off, it went. The first words out of my mouth were "Yeah, bitch."
So was it an actual bullet in your case, or was it a blank as
No,
well?
it was a blank. So Ocelot like grips his chest, and he's like, ugh, and he like pretends like he's about to fall over dead, and then he just looks at you and moves his hand from his chest and goes,
It's a blank.
"It's a blank." And it's
Yeah,
just
because
like,
when
buh.
because when you pick the other gun, Ocelot fires and Snake like flinches, and then he
yeah.
looks back and Ocelot just starts laughing and does the exact same thing, and then you look at it and Ocelot's laughing, and then that's the moment where the bromance reaches a fever pitch.
That's the moment when Snake goes borderline Titus Final Fantasy X. Like the laugh, I was like, "Are we doing this right now,
Yeah.
David Hayter?" Like,
Yeah, that laugh. Ha! Ha ha!
So before they actually do the game though, they trade names with each other.
Oh, that's right.
So Ocelot tells you his name is Adamska, and
Which I assume is just Russian for Adam.
yeah, which
Adu Endiva. Ho ho.
which prior shadowing? I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Adam was the informant that Snake was supposed to meet up with
Yep.
at the beginning of the game.
and then Snake delivers his name to Ocelot, to Adamska.
Which I
as
thought
John.
was in jest. Like as a kid, the first time I played this, I thought that Snake was giving him a fake name and like laughing at him. But in retrospect, playing it again, it's pretty straight.
Yeah. So I pulled up an article from Mental Floss about a bunch of like weird nicknames from other names, and pulled up a one why Jack is a nickname for John. So he might be giving him his like actual name, and Jack is his nickname, and that seems weird. And I remember Alessio, you brought that up a little while ago, like about a week ago, and we were kind of poking fun at you because that didn't sound right. But turns out the name Jack dates back to about 1200 and was originally used as a generic name for peasants. Over time, Jack worked his way into words such as lumberjack and steeplejack. Even jackass, the commonly used term for a donkey, retains its generic essence in the word Jack. Of course, John was once used as a generic name for the English commoners and peasants, as in John Doe, which could be why Jack became the nickname. But the more likely explanation is that Normans added -kin at the end of names when they wanted to make it a diminutive, like little John. And Jen was their way of
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's literally what this says. It says, and Jen was their way of saying John, So Little John became Jenkin, and time turned that into Jaquin, which ultimately became Jack. So
No
the
Joaquin.
Normans, yeah. Little John, Joaquin Phoenix, Jack.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. Joachim, what's his bucket? Moby Dick Studios.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Holy fuck, you're right. What?
Yep.
Wow. But yeah, and so then after all of these shenanigans, I think it's really funny that Ocelot's just like, later, bro, and just like dives into the water and rolls.
Yeah.
He's like, TTYL, Lilas, and then just ducks out and fucking stops, drops, and rolls on a lake.
Did you just fucking say lilac?
Yeah.
Love you like a sister.
I fucking love Ocelot's theatrics. I'm just going to put that out there. Like, he is a kind of prince.
Yeah, he's my favorite. He keeps me going in the
Like a
series.
sister.
And then we get hit with a nice Metal Gear staple, the good old cockblock codec. Snake's about to get some Snake's about to get some lippies with his lady, and then the codec goes off, and they're like, "Yo, dude, we're waiting for you in Alaska," which seems like a long motherfucking flight. And they fly to Alaska. Eva and Snake fly off into the distance.
Well,
Into the
I want to
distance.
first throw up the MiGs show up to
that's
blow
right.
up everything, and they're yelling at Eva to land the plane and to like stop, and then they're threatening to shoot them down, and then somebody, and it's
Comrade
and it's,
Khrushchev.
and it said that Comrade Khrushchev called them off, so they didn't blow anything up. But I love that before this, so they pull the plane up, and after they pull the plane up, because the engine's down, after they pull the plane up, they have the most awkward, goofy fucking laughing moment, which I feel like is second only to the scene in Final Fantasy X.
Yeah. Yeah, yet again, another
Another one. Yeah. And then after the MiGs show up, they put Snake puts his hand on the controls for the plane, and these motherfuckers are about to Thelma and Louise this airplane, and then Khrushchev calls off the MiGs, and after they call off the MiGs, they're about to kiss, and then the codec comes in, and they fly to Alaska to meet the president.
Well, they fly to Alaska to fuck in a cabin.
Well, yeah, in a cabin, and then they go Snake goes and meets the president.
Yeah.
On that nice ass tiger rug.
Oh yeah, it was a bear rug, wasn't it?
Was it
no,
a
it's
bear rug?
No, it's a tiger rug. You're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, well, not only that, but like, just before that, it's almost as if, so they say that Khrushchev called off the MiGs because the boss was dead, and he was like, okay,
Yeah.
I've got no reason to be a dick. Here's my thing: did the boss's vitals get like transmitted to Moscow? Like, how was he like, all right, the bitch is dead, call him off? Like, maybe the horse has a camera. The horse has a camera through which Khrushchev can see. Maybe that's what it is.
He's Comrade Horse.
Yes, Commandant Horse.
Commandant Horse.
But yeah, we get to see for I think it might be one of the few times that I can recall seeing a non-playable environment fully rendered in a Metal Gear Solid game. Like, other than the submarine at the beginning of MGS1, like, I don't remember seeing, and like the city streets
Technically-
at the end of MGS2.
Yeah, I was gonna say the city streets is the other one.
I feel like this is the only time that I can think of, other than those two moments, where you see in a fully rendered, fully modeled environment that you can't play in.
Isn't the base in Metal Gear Solid 4 only in cutscenes? Or is there a part of that
No,
where you
you're
can
right.
actually move
Well, see, it
around?
seems like there's one per game.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
That's interesting. But it's also my very first, fun fact, this is my first memory of game characters making love
Yeah.
that I can remember seeing. And I just remember being I definitely don't think I was 18 when this came out. And I definitely remember like playing this and being like, whoa, 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 what's about to go down? But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. And that like, to me, somehow it didn't, I mean, it's just polygon models, like fucking sticking their faces in each other's faces. But
yeah, these guys don't have genitals.
but the kissing actually didn't feel as goofy and shitty as like other kissing in games, and I think it's because like the camera almost moved away from it as soon as it started happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought it was fine, but it's nice to see that
They gave us the bow chickle, but they didn't give us the wow wow.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry.
It's nice to see that Snake can relax and be happy at least for a moment, considering what's going to happen next.
Throws that radio in the fire. I hope he didn't need to return that.
Yeah. Well, so essentially what ends up happening, and there's a sick like Triumph motorcycle product placement in this, which I thought was pretty awesome. Essentially what ends up happening is so Snake and Eva get away to their cabin in Alaska while they're told like, hey, it's snowing and blah, blah, blah. We're not going to get to you till the next morning. So Snake and Eva have an evening to finally make right on their promise of lovemaking after the mission was over. And so Snake and Eva hook up, and then Snake wakes up the next morning and she's gone, and she leaves a tape recording for him to listen to where she pretty much explains everything, talking about how the boss didn't trust her secrets with anybody and told Eva so that she could then in turn tell Snake all of the truth. She tells him that the boss very clearly had an affection for him, and that the boss was much like her, where Eva had been as a young girl sort of taken in by the philosophers and trained in one of the philosophers' schools, and that the boss could tell. And so the boss and her had this connection where they were both kind of trained by the philosophers. And Eva all along was supposed to be there as what Snake thought as an undercover agent amongst the Soviet Union, but part of her training was to not appear to be any nationality, and she was actually working for the Chinese because Eva's actually Chinese, and that she was working for the philosophers in China to procure the legacy from Volgin and take it back. So Eva took the legacy and took the plans for the Shagohod and essentially fucked Snake out of what he was supposed to bring back to the president.
And Eva wasn't even Eva. Adam and Eva were both men.
Yeah.
So she came in and I don't know what even happened to the real Eva, but
yeah, she
like
just
the
showed
idea.
up.
Yeah, I like the idea that there's a guy running around with the code name Eva.
Yeah, that's pretty great. But yeah, she just straight up tells you that she showed up to that meeting to try and jump into the circle of espionage that was happening, and Adam just never showed up, and she doesn't really specify what the fuck happened to Eva. I'm assuming that she probably killed the real Eva. And essentially I thought it was another fucking really great cutscene in a series of great cutscenes back to back. A lot of really phenomenal female characters, especially surprising to me coming from fucking Hideo Kojima. I thought that this game had a lot of good female characters. And I think immediately after this, once Snake finishes listening to the tape explodes, and Snake gets pissed off and throws the tape recorder into... It's a reel-to-reel recorder, not a tape recorder, but into the fire. And then the next thing that we see is Snake in the White House shaking the president's hand, dressed in full regalia. And I think it's kind of a first, I believe, that you physically get to see all of your codec contacts.
Yeah, I think so.
And so we see SIGINT, we see Zero, we see Paramedic. I believe that's everybody. And we see like some congressmen and all these other people and the president. And
really quick,
we also see another fun friend.
So when you're about to when you're around the time when you're saluting the president, if you press R1, there's a secret R1 scene, and oh my fucking god, Ocelot's in the window and he's doing his fucking finger guns in the window, and then he walks away.
It's so
It's
good.
the funniest fucking shit.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. I'm sorry. It's just so fucking good.
Yep.
I
Ocelot's
love
there.
every second of it.
Yep.
Oh, finger guns. Wow.
It's great.
Fucking fancy pants Ocelot.
And likewise, just in case none of us realized, and just in case Isaac didn't realize, the president says, "You have now bested the boss, and we now assign you the codename Big Boss." And so Snake becomes Big Boss. And then what's up Arlington Memorial Cemetery? Snake.
Yep.
And all of this is also still predicated by... It's weird. Snake destroys the tape, but we still hear Eva's voiceover, which I thought was weird. because we're supposed to be out of tape. So why is the tape still going? But
Don't use logic.
she's talking about the boss being like a true patriot who like died for what she believed in, and how literally no one will know because history will never have any information about the boss. And even when Snake goes to her grave, she has an unmarked grave that just says, "Here lies a true patriot," and it says 1920X to 1964. And Snake essentially puts down some flowers and the boss's patriot
Dick gun.
machine pistol, and then he sits there and he salutes, and we can hold
And then another
R1
scene.
Yep.
Teary-eyed. He's crying.
See the world through Snake's tears.
Sad boy.
And then the MGS3 end credits music starts, which is Way to Fall by Star Sailor, and it's fucking wonderful.
Really good.
Son, you've got a way to fall. They'll tell you where to go, but they won't know. Son, you'd better take it all. They'll tell you what they know, but they won't show. Oh, I've got something in my throat. I need to be alone while I suffer.
They kind of go through what happens to all of the characters, your codec context, and like it's really kind of dramatic. So they talk about paramedic and how she establishes the first her paramedic system in Seattle. They talk about Eva and how she disappeared in Hanoi and nobody knows where she is.
Yeah, in like the
they
70s. Yeah, it goes through. So
Yeah.
essentially, it goes through a timeline. It goes through like a timeline of like from now until. Doesn't it go to like 1980 something?
It goes to 1972 for a very specific reason.
No, it doesn't. Does it really end on 72?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because
yeah,
I have
that's
them all. I have them all written down. I'm going through.
Whoops, dropped my
They talk
glasses.
about SIGINT and how he joins the Advanced Research Projects Agency, or ARPA. They also talk about how in 1970 the American branch of the Philosophers becomes the Patriots. In the same year, Zero disbands Fox. 1971, Foxhound is created by Big Boss. And in 1972, Les Enfants Terribles project begins. The sons of Big Boss are born. So
Boom, boom,
that's some
boom.
shit.
Yep. It's interesting. Well, and what's interesting as well, and I don't believe that it gets corrected in the HD collection, but the year that Eva disappears for some reason gets changed in the timeline that appears in future games, and I'm not sure why they did that. Also, I thought it was funny. One of the MGS5 patches, they totally changed 2 dates on the timeline. So somebody at Konami is like, "Oh fuck, we fucked up by a year. We got to change
We
this
fucked up the
timeline."
continuity of Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Huh.
But before we get to the post-credit scene, did you guys have any comments, questions, or anything? Isaac and Cameron. I know this is me and Sam kind of going back and forth on this stuff. There's a lot of info.
Not really. I thought it was a wonderful end to a game.
Yeah, it was very.
It was an
Very
end,
upsetting.
and that was a game.
It's
Whenever,
a good song too.
Well, whenever you see Snake, the close up of Snake and his tear falling down his eye, down his face, it always reminds me of that Indian commercial, the recycling.
The littering commercial.
Like I saw that when I hit R1, I think, and I was just like, oh, the Indian commercial. And then that was it. And then I felt bad about myself. So
Yeah. Way to see that we were so deeply affected emotionally.
What about you, Cameron? What do you think? What do you think?
So I think I ended up liking it more than I thought I would. And like I mentioned before, I was watching at this point, and I did feel like a tinge of like maybe I should have stuck through the game. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I rate this game as 6 out of 10. And
Well, let's. How many?
We're gonna hold back on the rating thing.
say what?
How many lost puppies out of pizza would you give this?
Lost pups out of pie. 5 out of 7.
Cool.
Perfect. 5
That's
out of
good.
7.
7 slices makes a full
pretty
pie,
good.
as we all know.
Yeah.
Seven puppies in pie.
I'd probably give it 3.1 for puppies out of pie.
Oh, I see.
Dang, dude.
That was good, man. I wish I would have thought of that. Fuck. that was good.
So,
Really quick
Sam,
here.
Sam being
Yes.
our ambassador for the African American minority on the show, felt a big need. He and I were discussing this, so I just have one question. I just have a question.
Yes.
Isaac and Cameron,
Ooh.
when you guys saw where Sigint went, did it raise any flags?
I think he was one of my favorite characters in this game. So I think
Yo, what up, Snake?
yeah, I think
Snake, B-boy dog G. Sneak that shit.
You knew?
So, Isaac, what about you? Did you pick up any flags on the credits? We're going somewhere specific with this.
ARPA. Sigint
Sigint
went
joins
to
ARPA.
ARPA. What does that mean?
I don't know what you want me to say.
Sigint. Okay, so should I lay it out? Should I lay it out?
Yeah, Sam, go ahead. It's fine.
Sigint joins a defense agency, a government agency called ARPA, which stands for Advanced Research Projects Agency. ARPA would later become DARPA. Sigint is one of the few black people in the series. Sigint's real name is Donald Anderson.
Wow.
Vis-a-vis, Sigint
Is the
is the
DARPA
DARPA
chief.
chief. Yep.
We can't have too many
What?
black men in Metal Gear,
Yeah,
so
we
they got to be
we
the same
can't
black
have
guy.
They
many
gotta
black
recycle. Wow.
Yeah,
Shit.
recycle all the black people. So Sigint
That,
is the DARPA chief.
wow.
That's what?
You knew?
Nope.
You know? That's amazing.
Yeah, dog. We knew.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't
It's pretty
either.
intense.
So just to let you guys know, I believe Portable Ops and Metal Gear Solid 4 also go back and explain that. So in Metal Gear fashion, it will get beat into your skull, but you can't. But you
Sigint
can
isn't.
pick up on it here, which I thought was fun.
That's interesting. Yeah, I just thought he was there as like, hey, we're not racist, and we're trying to we're trying to include black characters, and we're trying to include strong female leads, and just trying to hit all the points so we don't get raped by Tumblr.
In a pre-Tumblr world.
Yeah, in a
In a
pre-Tumblr era.
pre-Tumblr world.
Please
I'm
don't.
just
They're like,
prepping for
please
it.
don't start Tumblr. Please don't start Tumblr.
So
And that
not
was the true
only
message.
not only is Sigint a very stereotypical black man, but he is also one of the 2 black people in the series.
Hey, one of the four between
Yeah,
Fortune and
okay.
Fortune's dad. One of 2 black families presented in Metal Gear. the Andersons and then the other one.
I wonder,
Dolphs.
like in Japan, like what the ratio is.
Yeah, how many black people are in Japan? Do we know?
I don't know, but
Google.
anytime there's a tokusatsu or an anime, the black person is usually the villain. So
All right, answers.yahoo.com. Hi, I'm a black man. How many black people are in Japan? I'm going to Japan in the coming months and I want to be prepared. I'm a little nervous.
Did you post that on Yahoo Answers?
No, that's an already asked question.
Well, I hope he's all right.
Yeah.
What was the answer?
I'll say with all right. The top one answer. I'll say within 1 week time frame, you'll see maybe 5 if you're in the city.
Wow.
Wow.
Very few
They're
blacks.
not very inclusive there in Japanese.
Few blacks. Few blacks in
Reparations.
Japan.
Look at that black.
You may get guys. Oh God, this is the best. You'll be treated fine. You may get guys who are interested in reggae or hip hop to randomly say hello to you or something. Oh jeez. Oh.
We
So
do
let's-
reggae.
What this Yahoo Answers is saying is that there are more black people per capita in Metal Gear Solid than there are in Japan itself.
Truth. And if you go to Japan, people are going to say, "Hey, are you like that guy from Jet Set Radio Future?
Oh,
Oh,
no.
God.
No
I love that guy.
way.
You talking about
Where's your
Dub?
boombox?"
Speaking of black people, I forgot about Drebin. We'll get to him.
He's not really black. He's a weird chemistry project.
I have you.
Anyway, so really quickly, we're gonna talk.
Oh.
We're just gonna vaguely touch on the fact that Ocelot, in a post-credit sequence, is triple crossing the Russian and the American governments.
Yeah, he's fucking.
Yeah. Well, I think he's triple crossing the Chinese, the Russians, and the U.S. And essentially, he is on a phone call with the CIA director, and of course, in true Ocelot fashion, says, "Yes, Mr. Director," and then hangs up the phone, and it's like, "Ba-na-da-na."
So the essence of this is that Eva got a fake Philosopher's Legacy. Ocelot has the real one.
Yeah.
And this motherfucker's about to make Metal Gear happen, from what I understood.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, he talks about how he stole the Metal Gear plans from Granini Gorky and has it ready for the U.S. So, yep, full circle, baby. Well, cool. On that note, since we are getting pretty long on this episode, we're running out of tape to record on because we are recording on reel-to-reel tape as well.
And it's going to explode when you listen to it, so be careful.
Yeah, be careful. I'm going to go ahead and end us up. So through all of the typical rabble, you can go to geekti.me to check out all of our stuff. You can check us out on SoundCloud, on Twitter, on Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon as the Geek Time Network. Yeah, definitely if you enjoy us and you want to support us, give us $5 a month. Throw those $5 to us on Patreon. You can donate less if you would like, but if you donate $5 or more, you get access to everything. Sponsor page, episodes a day early, blog posts, Slack access, deleted scenes, and stuff like that. So it's super neat, but we hope you guys enjoyed it. Cameron, it was a pleasure having you on. Thanks for joining.
And I also would like to thank Cameron for his donation to our Patreon as of like 30 minutes ago.
Oh, well, awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to get in the Slack channel and see what shit's being talked about me. But realistically, I looked at it and I said, "Hey, $10. You know, that's like 4 less energy drinks that I'll have this month." And I'm sure that anyone listening can not like. You don't need those energy drinks to sit at your desk and play video games, and
Yeah,
you can
dude.
go without those. So just do that.
So stop buying new underwear because you're masturbating so much into your current
Whoa,
pair,
whoa, whoa, whoa,
and just
whoa, whoa.
use that money to.
Can I, like,
that's what I did.
Throw out how
That's what I
ill-advised
did.
this line
Look,
of
okay,
convention-
instead of buying boxers, just buy a towel,
And a fleshlight.
and that's much more surface area.
I'm a big fan of the fleshlight, so you heard it here, folks. Geek Time Network officially endorses the fleshlight.
That's not true. Unless they want to give us money to endorse them, then of course.
Okay,
But
Cameron,
I let it soak with the rest of my dishes.
Okay. Well,
delicious.
I just want to give before we go one
Cornstarch.
quick update. I want to give
That's how you keep it
Oh.
soft. Sam,
I want to give a quick update. Twitter.com/doesn't have a twit.
that's me.
Yeah, that's Isaac's Twitter. He is being followed by 2 new people. Ludens, at not Ludens Metal Gear. It's Ludens_CS:GO. And the
gross.
picture is not even Ludens, the Kojima Productions mascot. But he is obviously a Metal Gear fan.
A Metal Gearsman. A Metal
video
Gearsman.
fan. A Metal Gearsman, a snake baby, if you will. But Ludens, and then Sam Sherratt is also following Isaac. Isaac now has 42 followers. Therefore, next week on the side op, Isaac has to do.
No,
another
that's not
like.
true because he already he did one
No,
for
that's
40.
not what-
He needs one for 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he? Is
Yeah.
it for 50?
Sam, you're making
Oh,
things
Jesus.
up.
I'm
Editor's
losing my
note.
mind. 50. He needs 50. He needs 50. He'll do another tweet.
Gotcha.
So get in there. I'm
No,
sorry.
you're fine.
Just leave me alone.
And
I'm going to
No, you're
sleep.
fine.
I'm gonna
you
go kill
can
myself.
you can find Isaac on Twitter, and you can find me in the Slack chat. I'm there. I would like you to come.
Come battle me in words.
Yeah, come talk shit to me, please.
Come
I
talk.
beg you.
Come
We got to
talk
start a
smack.
channel just for Cameron
need
that's
it.
just called Fight Club, and you just go there to battle Cameron with words.
I just want you to tell me that. Tell me what you like, and I'll tell you how you're
love
wrong.
it. Please do
And
that.
I'll explain to you how there's no point in anything, and really,
Cameron's gonna.
I don't want to talk about putting a gun in your mouth. But
Yes.
Whoa.
Cameron's gonna be the biggest draw to the Slack now. Like everyone's gonna want to chip in money so they can talk to Cameron on Slack.
yeah, please come here and duel me.
Yeah. $5
Believe in the heart of the
Get
word.
you all those things, and you get the rights to duel Cameron.
We're gonna start a King of the Hill channel.
And I'll just warn you guys that maybe I'm not coherent with speaking because I really didn't do very well in school with speaking presentations. You know, maybe I could have gotten an A, but I got a B because I wasn't good at speaking. But whenever I'm behind a keyboard, you're fucked. You're so fucked, kid. If you get behind a keyboard and you type at me and I have enough time to think about what it is that I want to say, and I say it, and I type it, and I read it, and I reread it, and I make sure that I'm about to fucking demolish you, you're wrecked. You're fucked, son. You're so fucked.
And just remember, it's just a